and I hated it. I learned to despise email marketing. But something that I learned at Pressnomics was you have to do email marketing. Like, you really do.
This episode of The Matt Report is brought to you by Pagely. Pagely, where we help big brands scale WordPress. It's enterprise WordPress hosting in the Amazon cloud. If you're building big, powerful WordPress websites for your clients, you need big, powerful hosting, and Pagely delivers. I use Pagely for my websites and e-commerce shops, so I trust their service, and I have no issues recommending them to you. Look, I only bring on sponsors that I trust. And who else trusts Pagely? Verizon, eBay, Disney, Twitter, and more. You can see that right on the homepage of their website. Pagely is the OG of WordPress managed hosting, and they're innovating the market every single day. If your clients trust you to write scalable code, then trust Pagely to host it for you. Check out Pagely.com. Season 4, Episode 4 with my buddy Dan Cameron. This is a long episode. I hope you stick around all the way till the end because it's really a journey down a path that I think a lot of us might even be afraid to admit in our business, that it's almost like this blue-collar, hard effort put forward. I'm just going to do good work. I don't need to scale. I don't need to be an iThemes, a Studio Press, an opt-in monster. You know, there's the artisanal value, right, of doing this stuff. And it's almost a mom and pop mentality, but for software sales. And I hope my guest today, Dan Cameron, doesn't get offended by those words, because it's something that I'm looking at more and more of. Why do we need this attitude of world domination, hustle, crush it, all of that stuff, when you can make a great living doing stuff that you love in the WordPress space and even beyond the WordPress space as we scale to grow other software solutions on the web? It really opens up a different kind of opportunity than generations past. And it's something that I'd really love to explore more in and around this space. I really hope you do enjoy it. It's mattreport.com/subscribe. Join the mailing list. And as always, please thank the sponsors for keeping us going here. It's Pagely and Valet. Let's get into the show. Hey, Dan, welcome to the program.
Hey, Matt.
Hey, listen, we've known each other for a little while now, in and out of the Post Status Slack channel. We met at Pressnomics and had some whiskey together. Was it whiskey or bourbon?
Yeah.
Yeah, whiskey. Had a great time. Yeah, tacos. Those tacos were good. Yeah. So you run a little site called sproutapps.co. But for folks who don't know who you are, give us that 2-minute elevator pitch of who you are and what you do.
That's just it. Dan Cameron. I live in Ventura, California, and I have a business that provides for my family. That's Sprout Apps. And the main product that we have is an invoicing app. The other product that maybe many of your listeners have heard of is Help Scout Desk. It's plug-in for Help Scout.
So this show is going to be a little bit different. Let's see, this is season 4. I think in season 2 of the Matt Report, we did a teardown. Sounds so harsh, but we did a teardown.
No, that's fine.
Of your website, and we went through some of the bits and pieces from like a marketing perspective, from a copywriting perspective, organizational perspective, mm-hmm. And I sort of want to like dabble in some of those areas in this episode as well. And
Are you going to ask me why I didn't do any of your recommendations? Is that the deal?
What I should do is just pull up the blog post that we highlighted that stuff in and say, why haven't these things been fixed?
Because I'm lazy.
But I've noticed that you have an end of summer sale still running at the top of the page. I like that. Limited time expires. And I want to get into some of these little tactics that you run.
Oh, yeah.
But before we do that, we were chatting a little bit before the show and sort of giving you the overview of how we do the recordings here. And one of the things you mentioned was, hey, look, Matt, happy to share with, whatever I can. Happy to get into these things, but, I am not a thought leader or industry leader in this stuff. I'm a guy who is putting out software and it provides for my family, which I think is the perfect introduction that you had in the beginning of this, right? Most of us say, a lot of listeners like, oh, how much are you selling this month? What's your revenue numbers year after year? Are you on, a 20% increase? Look, you provide for your family. That's enough right there, right? Like that's what we need to know. But I think a lot of us are in that situation where every bit of this is testing the waters. You put a pop-up on one page, it doesn't work, you take it off. You try some copywriting, it doesn't work, well, you switch it up, next month. I don't think any of us are masters at this stuff, especially at our size. And I'm talking the 1 to 12 person shop. If you're making plugins or providing services, I think we're all in this sort of learning phase constantly. It's the best way to be, in my opinion. But what do you think? How long have you been doing this? How long have you been selling plugins successfully?
I did client work for the last, let's say 8 years ago, I went into freelance, and a couple years into it, I was hired by a client to do a product for WordPress called Group Buying Site. It was a Groupon competitor, not a competitor, but it was one of those plugins that you could just put on your site and build your own Groupon. And it turned out to be a really successful plugin. And we ended up working on that for about 4 years. That was my full-time job with another friend of mine locally, and some other developers helped me, actually developers that I learned from, to make this product. So I was doing that for about 4 years. I didn't have like a stake in it. I was just doing freelance, but I was able to run the day-to-day business. The client that I had was very good. He just essentially wrote checks for us. And I learned a lot. And since we all forget about Groupon, that plugin wasn't doing too well 2 years ago, and we came to I came to a fork in the road, and I decided whether to go back into client services, maybe get another big project like I was on, or build my own product. And so I've been doing this since middle of 2014, maybe a little bit early, maybe in the February, March timeframe.
Sure.
But it took me about 3 or 4 months to actually build the product that I could release. Those summer months for a dad are the worst for productivity, of course. So yeah, it took me a while to build it, but I was finally able to get my first sales in August of 2014. Yeah.
What? So did you, from going back to your days of client services and working with clients and billing them specifically, was that the genesis of this idea where you said, you know what, I'm doing this now, I don't have a good solution for it, or I don't feel like paying exorbitant fees monthly to big SaaS companies to do this stuff, and that's where the idea came from? Or did you do some market research? How did it all boil down?
Well, the logical answer would be market research, right? But it really didn't come down to that. It came down to me just me determining that I wanted to do my own product. I did a product for somebody else for 4 years. I thought I knew how I should do it. I thought I knew I could easily make a WordPress plugin and become profitable within the first few months, just like this group buying site plugin did. Little did I know that's not how it works. But I came to the conclusion that I wanted to do a product, and then I always really wanted to do an invoicing plugin because I thought that the common workflow of accepting an estimate and then creating an estimate, and then I'm sorry, not accepting an estimate, accepting like a request for an estimate,
Mhm.
and then creating the estimate, getting the estimate accepted, then creating an invoice, and all that whole workflow was atrocious. And I was a FreshBooks user for a very long time. At that time, I was a Harvest user, and I thought maybe I could build a WordPress product that could help out with that workflow, because I knew that most of us designers and developers, right, or freelancers, accept estimates on our website.
Mm.
And then we, through like Gravity Forms or Ninja Forms or something like that. And then we just go back into Harvest or FreshBooks, create our estimates, send out that estimate. And then Harvest and FreshBooks, they don't have like an instant invoice. So like once you get an estimate accepted, then you have to go back in and then copy and paste all that information over to create an invoice. Now I believe they've done a better job with that workflow, but at that time there wasn't. I also need to give like credit to my friend Nick Orn, because I had a lot of discussions with him about like, what do I do? And he actually said that he wanted to do like a business suite where there's invoicing, CRM app. And I sort of took his idea because I knew that he wasn't going to go and do it on his own. So I just rolled with it, and out of his suggestion and out of his like guidance, I was just able to just go for it. And, that's what I did.
This episode of the Matt Report is brought to you by the team at Valet. Valet helps brands unleash their potential with real-time metrics, intelligent recommendations, and that age-old method of having an awesome team to back it all up. See, my friends at Valet are up to something really, really cool. But first, let me ask you this question. Every time you build a website for a client, don't you feel like you're making the web a better place? Well, here's the thing. Valet's got something in the works that will let you back that claim up. It's called Valet Metrics, and you can get your free website snapshot over at valetmetrics.com. It's an amazing tool. You get in-depth analysis of a website covering security, speed, usability, traffic, conversions, all wrapped up in this beautiful reporting dashboard that provides action, not fluff. You and Valet, making WordPress and the web a better place. Get your snapshot at valetmetrics.com. What was if you can remember, when you were sort of exiting the Groupon style plugin and going into this, and you mentioned like, hey, I get a lot of experience from that, and I think I can make my plugin as successful because it's going to be like I learned a lot. Do you remember what those points were that you thought were going to be easy? Like, was it something that you saw that kind of? It's a weird question. I know. It's like, what were those points where you thought that was going to be so easy that, yeah, I'll just do this in this next business and it'll work for me. But obviously it wasn't as easy. But do you remember what those were that kind of faked you out a little bit?
Not really, but I can like just start talking and maybe something will come out.
Sure.
But so at the time, I believe that it was a surprise to me. The group buying site was a complete surprise to me. So I think my thought was that if I built something there is a need for, and I believe that an invoicing plugin there was a need for, actually like creating workflows and just doing a better job than the current product that was out there, I thought that need would provide, right? I thought that just having that need available would be enough for me to get the downloads that I needed, the purchases that I needed. Now, I didn't do any like market research, right? My assumption was the need that I assumed in my head. So yes, that could be like a logical thing to think about, or something to actually think about, which was, is there a need? Yes. Okay. Well, how do you quantify that need? Is it just like something in your gut? I mean, I went about it the total wrong way. I
Mm,
thought that freelancers and designers, developers, right? They have the need that I have. So why not? All I have to do is just get that out to them.
yeah,
And I thought that that I had somewhat of like I knew how to get my voice out there, but that was very hard to do too.
sure. It's funny that you bring this up because I think that a lot of folks are, and I'm as guilty as anyone, right? So I have these ideas and I'm like, well, of course people are going to, want this solution. It's scratching my itch and, you show it to a few people and a few other people are like, oh yeah, it's, I'd use that. Right. But certainly not the case when you go to launch, you find, you hear those crickets, but it worked for you, right? In the long run,
Yeah.
maybe you did market research if you hopped in your DeLorean with Michael J. Fox and went back in time and you convinced yourself to do market research, maybe you would have never launched it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's absolutely true.
Yeah, and because I really
Yeah.
think that the business building process is it's just an art. It's to me, it's becoming more of an art form, right? It's
Yeah.
you paint something, you don't like it, you throw it out, you paint another version, you don't like that one either, and you paint another version until you finally like what you're looking at. And I feel like a lot of this stuff is very much that. And if you start to try to do this hard science for every step of the way, it becomes a job, it becomes a task. And sometimes when you throw the cards up in the air and let them land, eventually, they land the right way for you.
Yeah, exactly. And at the time, I do want to mention that, at the time, maybe my naiveness was based on my confidence in how to do the operations, the day to day of a plugin, right? So I wasn't on the business side. I wasn't, being influenced by other plugin authors, learning from them. That actually was a process that I took during the launch or after the launch. I found out that I needed to be a different type of business owner. I couldn't just, build a plugin, put it in the plugin repo, and get paid. I needed to actually market. I needed to get influenced by those influencers of our community. I needed to learn, and I definitely learned a lot in those in that first year, actually.
One of the things that you mentioned in the beginning, again, in the pre-show when we were talking about this stuff is, look, I don't know if I'm doing it the best way. I probably don't care if I'm not doing it the best way. And sometimes it's hard for me to stand up and sort of sell myself, which maybe we can talk about now. I mean,
Yeah.
getting your voice out there and being able to position yourself, maybe not as an industry leader or a market leader, but to find a thread of confidence that the product that you're building is going to be useful to somebody, and you're confident in the fact that my product or my suite of products is useful to somebody, and I take the
Yeah.
time to build it and support it. I guess, what lessons did you learn in year one about sort of just building up the confidence to speak about your product and share your product that you needed to do, and not just throw it in the repo and hope that people showed up?
Pressnomics has been really helpful. I learned a lot, not only through the conversations that we had, like at lunches, but also the meeting or the conference in general, like the speakers. Um, I, in the first year, I think the one thing that really helped me was persistence, I guess, and not giving up. James from Ninja Forms had an article a couple years ago, and it was about the same time I was thinking of like wrapping it up. Um, I, I'll share some numbers. I've never like published numbers, but in that first year of 2014, so I launched in July, August timeframe. I made $6,000 that year,
Mm-hmm.
and at that time, I thought that by the end of the year, I wanted to provide for my family, so I wouldn't be dipping into savings anymore. And it was a really difficult time. Uh, that article that I can't reference right now, that James wrote a while ago, really helped me. And not to say that I could read this article and say that I'm going to be the next Ninja Forms. It really told me that the reason why they were able to succeed is because they were persistent with it, and that's the major thing that I learned. Um, now, I can't just recommend anybody listening me saying that, oh, all you need to do is be persistent. I mean, you do need to work hard. You need to have some marketing efforts. You need to um, listen to your customers or prospective customers on what to do with the product, because the assumptions that you made early on are fairly um, um, inaccurate. Let's just say that. Because you're not building a product just for yourself at that time. You're building it for a lot of people, so you do need to listen to your customers. But yeah, I think the major takeaway in that first 12 months was persistence.
The I mean, I can't think of the sort of famous saying that I've seen a million times, but it's something like, you try, and you're about to give up, and it was just right, like success was right around the corner, and it was just like, if you just stayed one more day, you would have been, starting to sort of elevate yourself. And success is different for so many people. There's different, levels of success. But one of the things that makes our industry so difficult, especially when you're just starting out, is you have, there's the transparency factor where everybody's posting like, this month I made $63 million, and all I did was, publish this blog post and I got 3,000 leads from it. And I took out a $50 Facebook ad and people came, and signed up, and my funnel's converting at 20%. And you're just like looking at it like, what? And God forbid if you turn on, mainstream media and you see Keeping Up with the Kardashians and you follow Kevin Hart on Instagram and he's getting on his private plane all the time, and you're just like, oh my God. Like, and even more, like, I think that there's, and I don't want to get too deep into this could be a whole episode unto itself, but like, folks, if people who know Gary Vaynerchuk, and I think a lot of people in this industry know Gary Vaynerchuk. Do you know who Gary is?
Sure.
So Gary Vaynerchuk started Wine Library TV. Very infamous for being a very brash public speaker, and he came up in sort of the coding world a little bit, but now he's much more of a he went from starting a digital agency by himself and his brother, maybe, so two of them, to now he probably has maybe almost like 1,000 employees that work, and he's moving into this big high rise in New York, and he does the daily feed. Anyway, very like in your face sort of rashness to him. And he talks about hustle and he wants to own the New York Jets one day. And I think that some of this content can really, number one, make somebody afraid to want to build something because they might look at it. And just like we talked about you doing market research, like you might say like, oh man, I'll never be like this guy. I'm not even going to try, right? I'm never even going to try this stuff. Or there's a certain like chemical reaction, and I'd really like to talk to a psychiatrist about this stuff one day, is there's a chemical reaction where by just watching his videos every day or by watching, Kardashians, that somehow your drive to succeed and, become famous, with air quotes in the air, no matter what it is you're trying to do, music, art, digital products, by watching these people succeed, that it somehow satisfies your desire to succeed, right? Like like a couch potato. Like you just watch this stuff and you're like, oh man, I'll never get there, but this looks fun and it's sort of satisfying my desire. I'll never reach that level of success. And it sort of satisfies you. It's very scary, the transparency that goes on in our product world. And I would say that Pippin Williamson, who gets brought up a million times every episode that I produce, probably does it the best, where he shares those revenue numbers occasionally, but also backs it up with like, this isn't all roses,
Yeah.
This isn't the easiest thing to do in the world, right?
Yeah.
Although
but those numbers get thrown out, and people don't listen to the exact message that he's giving out to, and
true.
It could feel like not only enlightening, right, or not enlightening, but motivational, but it can also be intimidating too, to those people that have tried, right, for those first 3 months, and nothing's happening, and they're like, well, I mean, Pippin did this, and look at that. So it's one of those things that it could be good and bad depending on who the person is listening. And I took a lot of things that Pippin said as motivational. So
yeah, one of the episodes from last season of the Matt Report was with Rob Walling of, Stars for the Rest of Us podcast and Drip platform, which is an email marketing automation platform. And at the time, he had just sold his company Drip to Lead Pages, or Lead Pages acquired, Rob and his team and the product itself, of course, to merge into the Lead Pages platform. And one of the things, sort of one of the highlights or the overarching storyline, is he never thought his business would scale to the demands that it's scaled to today, which was, more servers, more storage space, more bandwidth, like all of like the technical scaling. And then there's the hiring scaling of, I need another engineer. I need to get into marketing. And the business started growing when, in fact, he thought that he'd be able to manage this, right? Like he thought that this would be a nice little business one day, and maybe it made tens of $1,000s a month, but he just wasn't really expecting it to take off, which is a good thing, but then a burden at the same time. What are your thoughts? You say you're a one-man shop, but you're providing for your family through these products. I mean, what does the future look like to you in terms of more product, or sort of expanding to increase revenue? Or do you, again, is it just one of those things that you look at and say, yep, I'm going to tackle that when I feel the desire to?
Right now things are great. My family is provided for, and we get a little bit more in sales than, or royal we as our family get a little bit bonus the last few months, and so I can put into savings. So future wise, I'm probably not one of the best business owners in this community because I don't have like a future plan. My future plan is to go at it the way that I'm doing, be very scrupulous in my savings, so that one day when no one buys Sprout invoices, I have a backup. I can move on to another product, or I can move into another product within WordPress or product outside of WordPress. I do have a lot of aspirations to do a lot of different things. For example, I do want Sprout invoices to be outside of WordPress. That's something that I think every WordPress product owner wants to do. That's one thing that I would really love to do, but it's something that I just can't do right now. For example,
from a technical overhead perspective, right?
Yeah, because I do like the way it is now. it's just me. I don't have I don't pay for outside support. I do all the support. I do support in the morning and then I do development in the afternoon. My work week is the best right now. I love it. And I think if I changed that, um, for example, if I brought in another product or if I proceeded to go a different route, then I would interrupt my awesome work week, right? I don't have high hopes to make 25 grand a month or 50 grand a month or anything above, let's say, like 15. 15 is like the number, the number that I would just be so happy about. And right now it's like, now it's in the nut. So like I can pay all the bills. We can enjoy the lifestyle that we have in Southern California. And, it's great. Like, I think that um, if I stick it out for the next, whatever X years, 3 or 4 years or something, doing what I'm doing now, then life is going to be excellent. And that's how I want this business to be at this moment, a lifestyle business.
Probably one of the most amazing statements anyone has ever made on this show. Because, and I'll tell you why. You know, when you, at the outset of the show, you say that I'm not really sure that I have, the confidence to stand up shoulder to shoulder with all of these other business owners. Well, no one has ever said that they have an awesome week, an awesome workplace, an awesome, life. No one has ever really said that. And even when I listen to other podcasts of these startup owners, it's always feeding the machine. It's always grinding, hustling, working harder. They're making 50 grand a month in their product, but guess what? They're looking for outside funding. They're taking meetings. They're battling that. There's another hire, which means more taxes, more training, more ramp up time.
Yeah.
A lot of that stuff, again, sort of akin to what I was saying with Rob, that it became a task. It became a business. It became like you were actually reporting to a job every day. And
Yeah.
it wasn't something that people enjoyed. And I think that you should, and I know you have, I don't have to repeat it to you, but I think you should find some definite confidence in the business that you've built, not just numbers wise, but you're freaking happy doing it. And so many of us aren't with some of the stuff that we're doing. So, I mean, good on you right there.
Yeah. That's why, so I don't know if you want to maybe you want to talk about this a little later off the show or something, but that's why when this whole ReviewGate issue happened, I took it so personal because it's not that like something drastically affects my business, right? That I'm okay. Well, I'm sort of saddened by this, or I am actually upset by it. Right. It's more of like I'm saddened by the way that whole thing went down because it's not like a direct assault on like my livelihood or anything like that, or my business. I don't have pride in that. I have pride in the actual work that I do. I have pride in the in the business that I built in a way. But it's really hard for me to define and talk about, but what I'm trying to get across is like something like that affected me personally, not okay, well it came down to my bottom line or something,
Right.
So I take my business like to heart. Like I go in when somebody is upset about a product that I make, then I want to make it right. I want to be nice to them. And that's why I love doing support. Sometimes support is a burden more than anything, but I do like having conversations with my customers, and hopefully they, find that too. Sometimes they don't see that, but I like talking to them. So yeah,
let's shift gears a little bit and let's talk about two the the two gorillas in the room. One being this the review gate. The other we'll talk about after that is the FreshBooks stuff. But so and I'm going to paraphrase it here. Feel free to expand upon it. But it was found that the plugin review team perhaps looked at the reviews and said the reviews of your plugins on WordPress.org, saying like, oh, it looks like Dan is paying people to leave a review, so we're just going to go ahead and pull this plugin off of .org until it's rectified, or is that how it was left off, or were they trying to just like indefinitely pull it off?
No, it was pulled off until I resolved the issue, and I'll need to clarify that it wasn't okay. So the plugin review team contacted me directly about it, right? But to what they told me is the moderators of the forums saw an uptick in my reviews, and they noticed a link on my site that said that I'm not trying to shy away that I had this but I said if you review the free plugin, I will give you a discount for the pro license. So that's what they came down on me with. They not only the most important thing is like they not only took down the plugin, which is fine. Like take down my plugin, give me a warning until like I resolve the issue. My issue was that they deleted all of the reviews, every single one of them. So at that time, I had over 100 5-star reviews. About 28 of them were brought through this, like, I guess, promotion that I had, or marketing channel, whatever your listeners want to, hear. But that was the result. Was all reviews were deleted. My plugin was down for less than 24 hours, I believe.
My soapbox, moment is, look, I think it's, there's so much here, and my listeners are probably just sick of hearing me rant about this stuff, but I do plugins and themes as well, and not anywhere even near the level that you found success in with your plugins. And, I look at the discrepancy between the way plugins are managed on .org and the way themes are managed on .org. And I just want to rip my hair out because, number one, I think it's great that there's a moderating team that notices things like reviews going up on the uptick, and actually pays attention to those things, because it's certainly not happening on themes. And, I had to do a song and dance to get attention on a theme that was blatantly gaming the downloads, which was increasing its visibility because it was raising up in the rankings in the most popular theme section, right? Which was kept getting featured again over and over again. And it's just like one side is like plugins. It just seems like a whole different marketplace in terms of, well, obviously because there's two different management teams, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. But it drives me nuts because themes continue to be exploited, right?
Yeah.
And this whole marketplace of .org, on one side, folks like you and I have to realize that we have to have a plan for making money outside of .org so that when stuff like this happens, we're prepared for it, right? Just like everybody shouldn't base their business on Facebook. You shouldn't base your business just in .org. But on the flip side is there's money. There's over the years, billions of dollars being transacted through .org. Everyone knows that people are making money in this. So why not have authorized authors or a little verified tag or badge for people like you and I who put out good work, support the clients, support the customers, answer questions, have a fruitful business. It's maddening that a few volunteers can bring down the house on people. But at the same time, I look at it and say, hey, shame on us for putting all of the eggs in one basket. But there's got to be some even ground to work through these channels. I think you obviously, like you said, up and back in 24 hours, but losing the reviews was quite maddening. Obviously.
Yeah, it was heartbreaking. Um, I don't. I'll go ahead and disagree with you a little bit. I don't think we necessarily need a verified tag, right? Just because that's going to create like a classes system within the .org repo. But I think that there should be more transparency. I believe that I really commend everybody over there. So whatever I say now, I hope it doesn't be construed as like me harping on them or being mean to them in any way. Like, I respect them and I respect what they're doing over there. They're volunteers and they work really hard. But I do believe that there needs to be like more transparency. It comes down to, like, during this process, it seemed to me that few people had their hands on like this instance, and I can only speak for this instance in my case, right? It seemed like only a few people had their hands in the decision. Now, whether it came down to one person making that final decision, I don't know. I don't know if it came down to two people. It really frustrates me that there's like a disparity between the community of .org and the community that we are in.
Right.
I believe that, when I talked to them and I said, we as a community, I believe that I was part of that community. I believe that, honestly, now I still am part of it, whether I'm forcing myself in that community or not, by the works that I do, not just because I don't volunteer. But well, let me clarify. I think I do volunteer through my time and the free product that I offer, but I don't volunteer as in doing plugin reviews or doing support on the forums and whatnot. But I think there needs to just be transparency. I think there needs to be, like, if big cases like this happen, right? So throughout the process, they continually mention that I wasn't the only case, right? But I never heard of any other case. And I looked on Slack and I looked for like other instances of this happening. I looked for blog posts. I never heard anything. So, and in this case, like, if there was precedent set before me, then I would know whether what I was doing was right or wrong. I still think that there's a gray area. And now, if they don't agree with that gray area, that's perfectly fine. They need to set the rules and they need to enforce them. That's completely okay. But the thing is that if we, as plugin authors or theme authors, try to fit into this gray area to help our businesses, we're subjective to rules that we might not know exist.
Right.
And that's the thing. Like, if there was like transparency is a sort of hyperbolic term right now because it can mean so many things. But guidelines can be updated. A conversation could be had before this happens. Before the case happened to me, like, somebody could have reached out, right? And I know that that's just not a policy that they want to do, but maybe a conversation could be had in a Slack channel or something like that. And whether, it's on onus of me to listen for alerts for my name or my plugin, but there should be some type of like conversation happening. And there's no conversation that I'm privy to that had happened. Now, I guess that's all I have to say about that. But
In short time after that, in a
Yeah.
real David versus Goliath or Dan versus Goliath moment, you realize or you find, and maybe you can just tell us how you found it, maybe you just your own Google search, but you find that FreshBooks is bidding against keywords against your branding for Sprout Invoices. Give us the lowdown on that. How did you find it? And then what did you do to get them to give you $1 million? No, I'm just kidding. What did you do to get them to stop?
So, I believe I could be wrong, but I do have to like mention him anyways because he's been helpful through the review thing too. But Zach Katz on the Post Status Slack channel reached out to me. I'm almost sure it was him. If it was somebody else, I'm sorry. But he reached out to me and said that, oh, look, FreshBooks has an ad when you search for Sprout Invoices on Google. It says something like Sprout Invoices. It says Sprout Invoices like in the title tag of the ad. And then it says something like FreshBooks is, I don't know, the best invoice product around or something weird like that. But anyways, yeah, so he reached out to me. I was flattered in a way, but also like frustrated that they would use that term, Sprout Invoices, in a way that looked to be like attacking my product or attacking my business in a way. Not attacking, but like overly competing, right? Mm-hmm. And yeah, so the way that I got around, okay, so, sorry, let me back up. I reached out, or not reached out, I filed a trademark claim through Google, and it seemed like it took like weeks. It definitely took a month, but I want to say like 4 to 6 weeks for it to be finalized. And they took down, or they notified FreshBooks in a way. I'm not really sure how that process works, but they closed down their ad, or they contacted FreshBooks and told them not to use the Sprout Invoices, the term within their ads. And it finally got taken down. Then I wrote a blog post about it, and it got out somehow. Somebody at FreshBooks contacted me and mentioned that that it wasn't intentional. However, their reasoning wasn't. I mean, I default to trusting whoever, whatever somebody says, right? Like I just have to do that. But I don't really like the answer that they gave, just because the technical reasons of it that they're using, I forgot exactly what they were using. Something with the terms being like magically inserted into the title. But anyways, long story short, sorry, is that they put up an ad that said Sprout Invoices, bill anytime, anywhere, freshbooks.com. It wasn't.
I would be. I'd be. I don't mean to laugh at that, but it's like, how does that accidentally like that wasn't intentional? Oh, really? Like you just somehow decide to start off your ad with Sprout Invoices.
Yeah. And okay, so now that I have the blog post up, so they blamed it on broad match and keyword insertion. Now I looked over the articles or the documentation for broad match and keyword insertion. And I used to do Google like ad stuff at the old company that I used to work for. And I know that was like 10 years ago, but that's just not how it works.
Right.
Like this was definitely, maybe I just don't understand the API now, but I also like in the back of my mind is like, okay, well, they see a competitor raise up, the marketing team at FreshBooks, they see a competitor move up. They see possibly that people are exporting their user data from FreshBooks into a product called Sprout Invoices. So maybe they have to look into it. Maybe just the term Sprout Invoices is popping up, and they have to. They go, oh, okay, well that's a term that's like coming up in Google. So let's just take that term. Regardless if they knew that it was a product or not, I think it was uncool. But I'm not going to say that, they maliciously like went after me. Like I really
Right.
can't see that. I can just say that they just like did something not cool. And uh, it's somewhat flattering in a way that like I I created something for them for that to be on their radar. Like I thought that was a pretty cool moment. But yeah, anyways, it's gone now. And they reached out to me and they said that they're actually not going to do they remove Sprout invoices from their keyword list, which is good on them. Um, but I mean, for I don't know how long this took place, like maybe a year. I don't know. I don't know how many customers I lost, but or maybe gained. I have no idea.
Sure. Sure. Um, Boy, man, for a one man shop, you can cause quite a ruckus.
and I try to stay quiet too. Like I don't like doing this type of stuff, but like the whole like review thing, like I just wanted to voice my frustration, and then some friends like Zach, like he posted about it. He was like more upset than I was at the moment, so he got like some movement or community like ruckus around it or whatever, a new WP drama or something. And then this was like one of those things where I was like sort of proud. It was sort of like a proud moment, and I actually needed help as to like how to get rid of this because they were stepping on my trademark, right?
Right.
So the community at Post Status was able to help me with that, and then it became like a cool effect, I guess, of creating a business to the point where like a huge SaaS competitor could actually like be influenced, whether indirectly or directly, I don't know, but I like to think somewhat directly.
Awesome stuff. Let's switch gears to the third final. We only get three. We only have three gears in this car. The third final gear here is sort of just some of the stuff you're doing on the website. Just kind of interested to learn. Sort of, like you said before, you're sort of just testing things out. Might not be a pro at it, but you're trying things and seeing what sticks, seeing what works. Like I said at the top of the show, we did a marketing teardown a little while ago, kind of going through, and I'll hopefully link that up here in the show notes. But look, I still think that for a product site, it's a great looking product site. I think that from a lot of people that I've looked at before, myself included, you have a lot of valuable information on the site, and you do a really good job of like the social proof stuff of, the ratings, the testimonials, showing that there's this growing community across the globe with all these key points. But what have you been trying recently on the site that maybe you have seen a small uptick in? Like I noticed now you've got this sort of live chat thing here in the bottom corner. You've got the drop down like sale announcement with a limited time offer. What bits have been working for you that you think somebody could apply to their own website?
Yeah, there's let me say that thing in the bottom right is just a help scout beacon. It's not like live chat.
Oh, okay.
But it is like pretty cool to do support and stuff, and it's also helped. But anyways, going back to the marketing stuff, that first Pressnomics in 2015, I believe it was in January, really helped my business. The business of it, the business of Sprout Apps wasn't doing too well. I went out there to Pressnomics just to like maybe magically learn something, and I did. I really like owe a lot to that conference and the people that I listened to at that time. One of the things that I learned was email marketing. I don't like email marketing. I used to do email marketing ages ago at an I'm not that old, but
I was just about to say, how
like,
old are you?
I'm 37, I think.
Okay.
So, but like 10 years ago, I was working in a company and we were sending out hundreds of thousands of emails multiple times a week. And I hated it. I learned to despise email marketing. But something that I learned at Pressnomics was you have to do email marketing. Like you really do. And the contact points that I thought of on the drive back from Arizona was what workflows that built and worked for me. I collected email, or I'm collecting email addresses through like the demo, collecting email addresses through the free version, actually, if they're able to, like, if they want to pass that information on to me. And I'm able to like track that information too. I felt very like scummy in a way, like spending 2 to 3 weeks like building all this stuff in January. But I think the reason why I'm still around is because I did it. Um, Business has not only like in January, it became steady and then constantly grew after that. And by the beginning of January and end of December of 2015, it's been like a 50% increase or something like that. So like I fully feel like if you're not doing email marketing, then you need to you need to either do it or just be content with the business that you currently have.
Do you think you've seen better success? And I mean, I pretty much know the answer just by what you're saying here, but what about like everyone's saying, well, you have to do content marketing too. Do you kind of do any of that and tie that into your email marketing? Or are you just like, hey man, I'm all in email marketing?
So there is like a multi-pronged approach that I don't know how many prongs are there. So I'll just
It's a
so
spork.
yeah, it might be. So it comes down to me for email marketing and oh man, what affiliate marketing. So while you say content marketing, I never went out to blogs or like I never went out. I actually did. I went out to like WP Tavern and I sent emails to like to post status and all the everybody is like, hey, I launched this Sprout Invoices. You want to write about it? Only I only got one article and somebody at WP Tavern wrote it and I really thank her. But anyways, so I did that once and I did that before and shortly after the launch 2 years ago. Um, what I do now focus on is affiliate marketing in a way. So what I did early on, and I haven't done it in a while, is I searched out all the articles that said something like best WordPress plugin for invoicing or something like that, best invoicing plugin. And I went to the authors of those articles and I asked them to review my plugin. And I also said that I have an affiliate program. And most of those, it sounds sort of weird to say that, right? It sounds like, oh, okay, I'm paying for them to review. But that's just how it works. Like every one of those, I mean, those top 10 best plugins, most of those sites have affiliate links, and the reason why they're writing them is because of like that affiliate revenue coming in. There are exceptions, but affiliate marketing is like a big deal. So I went out after them, and that's been a really good source. I went and I set up Customer IO, and I know that the competitor I think is GetDrip, but I just never like went after it. Somebody recommended Customer IO because just somebody recommended it at Pressnomics, so I went after it. And I'm feeding actions into, oh wait, here, before I go on and say how I'm using Customer IO, do you have any like questions or comments or anything?
No, I think you're hitting all the nails on the head as you go along here.
Okay, cool. So with Customer IO, it's not just like, oh, okay, you send them some email addresses and then they send out like an email, like on a delivery time. No, what you want to do is you actually want to like send actions. So like, here's an example. Somebody that demos Sprout invoices and goes to the purchase page and never does anything else. That person is completely different than somebody who comes directly to the site, goes to the purchase page, and adds the product to the cart. And that person is completely different than somebody that comes in through a Google ad, adds it to the cart, goes through the checkout process, and doesn't complete it, right? So I have email campaigns or with quotes around it, directing towards like certain types of people. I have like over 10, I think, different types of emails trying to communicate to those people. So like somebody demoing and going to the purchase page, that person probably looked at the price and was like, no, I'm not going to do this because of the price, right? Somebody that added it to the cart and took a while on that cart page and never checked out, that person might be okay with the price, but might have been distracted and might need to be reminded to come back. Somebody who goes through the checkout process and doesn't complete it, there might be like an error on the checkout page. So you might want to send them an email that says, hey, I see that you might have had a problem during the checkout. Please let me know what the issue was, or let me know how I can help. So, so you want to contact not only the prospective customers differently, but you want to get their attention, right? So you don't just send a blanket email saying, hey, I saw you visited my site. Here's a discount code. Like you try to communicate with them so that way you can get that that email open.
Yeah, I mean, customer IO is definitely, and well, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's probably not for the faint of heart either, because it probably takes some time to get this all set up, right? I mean, any marketing automation takes time to get set up, but it's definitely something that's where if you looked at it to maybe Drip's email automation or MailChimp's automation. I think Drip's getting a lot more advanced now to maybe tackle some of these things. But I think from a development standpoint, like you said, like capture the email from the demo and when they visit a page, like I don't think a lot of those types of technologies exist as deeply as they do in Customer IO in Drip, but I think they're certainly moving there. But Customer IO being one of those, like, man, this is a machine, but it's going to take you some time to really get it set up and fine tune the way that you have it.
Yeah, you have to create segments, they're called, and then once you put people in different segments based on their actions, then you can send them emails based on like their segments, right? So another good thing is like, okay, somebody who's demoed the product 2 days ago, but hasn't installed the free version. You want to go after those people and say like, oh, what did you find in the demo that that didn't like fit your need, right? So communicate with them, and I get like good responses. Whether it's just like, oh, your product's a piece of shit or something, and I don't want it, but but no, I get responses like, oh no, I installed it on this site and I'm really enjoying it, and yeah, Customer IO or the segment or the callbacks or the beacons or whatever you want to call them, like those are failing in that moment. So I accidentally put them in the wrong segment, but it started a conversation, right? So that's what I'm trying to do, is just start conversations with the people, whether it's a one-way communication or not, it doesn't matter.
And what about just wrapping up here? What about the like just typical email newsletters or email content delivery? Are you using Customer IO to just send out the generic sort of like, hey, this month I'm doing XYZ and here's some important or fun industry news or something like that? Or do you not get into that at all?
No, I don't. I really don't. Like the only emails that I send out for like the quote newsletter that I have is people that have signed up through the checkout process or somebody who's signed up like on my site, the newsletter. And that's just republished blog posts. Or I mean, they're all in MailChimp, and MailChimp like looks at my feed and goes, oh, there's a new post. Let me send out this email. That's basically it. My newsletters are actually like sparse and not, I don't do content marketing. Like I don't like hire writers or anything. So, I don't really have anything like to say or to send out.
Is that because you don't see an immediate value, or is it because this other stuff is just working so well that there's not a need to go up into another channel?
So, content marketing is something that I thought of very heavily at the last Pressnomics, and only because I heard stories of like how like good it was, but I don't see the payoff. The reason why I don't see the payoff is because I'm trying to run this a bit like very lightweight, you know?
Yep.
So when I have to pay somebody $500 or $1,000 to do like a really good blog post or a set of blog posts, I see that as like direct bottom line. Like how many licenses in order do I have to sell in order to
Recoup that.
to make this? Yes, recoup it. Right. So I don't see that. And the reason why I don't is because like, okay, well, how can I judge that? If I put out an awesome blog post and I get 10 new purchases attributed through the links in that blog post, how do I know that those people wouldn't have purchased anyways if I reach them through another cheaper channel?
Right.
It's probably naive of me to say, like to think that, but in other words, because I haven't done like an A/B test, I haven't really like done content marketing to find out. Now, it also goes back to me saying, you know, sales are really good right now, really good enough to like support me, right? Like I don't need to grow as much as I did early on. So I'm comfortable. I don't really have to step outside of the box that I'm already in. I need to make that box like slightly bigger and gradually growing, right? But I don't need to like break down the walls and try something new.
Yeah. No, that's a perfectly valid answer and perfectly valid strategy. I think that, thinking back to, I can't remember who did this, but like I know one example recently in the WordPress product Facebook group, which is a Facebook group just for WordPress product people.
Yeah.
I believe Jason Coleman posted something about like people try to use the product, they get frustrated, they just want a refund, or they want this like fix to happen, whatever that might be. And, the typical response is, well, we don't do that. Sorry, here's a refund. But then he tried to say, you know what, in this case, I'm going to help people at like a white glove level where you got a problem, I'll even log into your WordPress site and fix it for you. He said almost like regardless, no matter what it was, I was going in and fixing it. But even out of that segment of people, I forget what the number is off the top of my head, but 60% we're still demanding a refund anyway. And what's interesting is WordPress plugins, and we've been saying this, and I'm talking about the collective we is the maybe not you, but I know a lot of folks who say like we should all be charging more money so that maybe we can do like these white glove services, or that there can be a better level of service. Because I mean, what do people expect for $39? Just throwing that number out there. Like, what do you expect for that fee or for that price? But maybe if it was $99, we could get our hands a little bit more dirty and service the customer a little bit better. But perfectly valid reason for you to say like, everything else is working. I'm at a level is better than good. Sounds like it's a good to great zone. And if you can get to a great zone, that's great. But you're at a level where, look, you don't need to invest in these areas, and good on you for not chasing, a trend, right? that's happening right now. So
I do completely agree that plugin authors, theme authors need to start charging more. Like it's when you're in services, right? You base your rate on value, right? I don't see a lot of plugin authors. I don't see a lot of theme authors actually charging or pricing their product based on value. Like that's what I did early on, and maybe that's why my sales weren't that great early on. But I'm rather expensive. Like my product's pretty expensive. With a discount, the cheapest is $60. Like I think that any lower than that is sort of like ridiculous. Now my product might be different than some other products, right? And it's up to like the plugin author to judge what the value is, but also like value your time, like value the support that you put into it. Like if you're doing a shitty job with support, then yeah, sure. Like it should be a $5 plugin. But if you really want to do good support, then you should be charging for it, or maybe wrapping it differently. Like there's a lot of like really like good ideas some people are having right now where, you buy the license, but you're not buying support, and then you have to buy support separately. I don't think that I'll go that route. But I think it's an interesting route, especially for those smaller plugins that are like, one feature plugins. I forget the term or name that people use on those, but, yeah, I really strongly do believe that we need to move more into like a value-based, and look at the competition outside of WordPress too. Like if you have competition, then look at that. Like I looked at FreshBooks and Harvest in order to determine the price that I was going to set. So.
Yeah, that's, amazing advice and a great way to end this episode. Dan Cameron, you are a giant in my eyes. I don't care. I don't care what you say. Where can folks find you on the web to say thanks?
Well, here, let me say this. So if I have to look up to you, Matt, how big of a giant are you?
Yeah, right.
I'm Dan Cameron on like almost everything, but I'm on Twitter as Dan Cameron. I have a blog, dancameron.org, that actually like went over a lot of the topics that we discussed today. The review stuff, the FreshBooks stuff, the email marketing. It's probably on like the second or third page, but it's on there on the blog. I try to post stuff, that's going on in my life, not only through business, but through my life too. But anyways, yeah, that's it.
Awesome.
Sproutout.com, like you said too.
Awesome interview, everybody. mattreport.com/subscribe. Join the mailing list where one day I'll send you email too. Thanks for listening to the show. If you did enjoy, head on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. Thanks, everybody. Hey everyone, did you enjoy this episode? Head on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star review. It really helps. I say it all the time, but it definitely does. Always reach out to our guests and say thanks. We always link them up at the end of the show to share their Twitter account or wherever they can be found online. So make sure you go ahead and do that. They spend a lot of time with us. And thank our sponsors, Pagely and Valet, for keeping the Matt Report going until the end of the year. If you're interested in sponsoring the Matt Report, you can get a hold of me. It's mattreportblog@gmail.com or just mattReport.com/contact. Reach out. We are looking for sponsorships going into 2017. Again, if you want to sponsor one of the premier WordPress podcasts out there, go ahead and reach out, mattReport.com/contact.